Talking to some of the best names in contemporary Christian music. This is the Hope FM Artist Interview.
And welcome to this week's edition of the Artist Interview here on Hope FM. And I'm very pleased to say we have got a wonderful artist, Big Daddy Weave. And I'm very pleased to say we've got Mike Weaver with us for the Artist Interview here on Hope FM today. Hey Mike, how you doing?
Man, this is unbelievable.
So 1998, you're together with the guys and you're leading worship and you're enjoying being together. But how do you suddenly become a band that's playing internationally? The band that we love to play here on Hope FM.
Totally. Well, I had been writing some music at my home church, and my brother Jay plays bass in the group, and we had a little studio set up like kind of behind the stage at church, and we would kind of work on little things. And so as I was meeting musicians in the music department of University of Mobile, I'd be like, oh man, we need to get them to play on this. And that's what happened. Like the first time we ever got together, it was like I just met some friends. We put together a jam session in crazily enough, it was called Weaver Hall, which is, I was like, it was nobody I'm related to, but it was my own last name. As we're playing music for the first time together, just jamming, somebody wanders by and goes, man, hey, this sounds really great. You need to put a set together for this and open up for this group that's coming in a few weeks. And we're like, sweet, we haven't even been together 15 minutes and we already got our first gig, it's like, it's crazy. And so then they ask us the question that has haunted us ever since. They were like, what do you want us to put on the flyer? What's the name of the group? We're like, well, we don't know. We just wandered in here together, really. And I was just kidding. And I said, tell them that we're Big Daddy Weave in the institution is what I said. And I was just kidding, cause it was just it was the Big Daddy Weave part. Like if you're my size in the South of the US, southeastern part of the US, like you are Big Daddy. Like you don't really get a vote about that. That's just a nickname. There's a guy at our church who would call me that. And my last name's Weaver. And I was just being silly. It was never supposed to go anywhere. And then here we are 23 years later. The moral of that is like, be careful what you call your group, because if God has it out for you, then you never know where he's going to take things.
And it's hard to change the name of the band. So
it really is.
So who is it that you opened for?
Oh man. So back in that time, it was kind of an acoustic duo, a couple of guys, singer, songwriter, a very acoustic sounding music. And an interesting thing that happened. So we opened for the group. They were called Dog Named David. So they had even more name struggles than we did, And so, there was a group at the time though that was really popular in Christian music called Caedmon's Call. And so Dog Named David got invited to go and tour with Caedmon's Call. And so they went as a duo. So the couple other guys that actually were playing with them, we adopted into our group. And that has been the current lineup of Big Daddy Weave ever since. Well, we changed drummers about 14 years into it, but man, it was the same guy. It's pretty much the same guy since that very day.
Which is really unusual, actually, with a band to be that consistent. For four of you to have been together since 1998, it's huge. How do you manage getting together and being like brothers on the road for all that time with life's ups and downs? In fact, literally one of them is Jason is your brother, isn't he?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Has it been smooth, or has it been one of those up and down rides and you just have to keep going back to Jesus?
It's been real life, and we have to constantly go back to Jesus. And I don't think that our unity with one another is what even keeps us in it as much as just us realizing that God has really made these opportunities. In fact, our first year together, we had seen so many other people like chasing the dream or whatever and just go down in flames. And we just told the Lord together, even though we don't always get along, like we don't always see eye to eye, but I feel like our hearts are the same in our pursuit of Jesus, that we want to humble ourselves before him and really follow the opportunities that he brings. I remember us saying to God, like, God, if you want us to do this, you're going to have to bring the places for us to play, because for us to go chase this is terrifying to us. And so we decided not to call anyone. And so our third year as an independent group, we played 180 times that year, actually. And we had not made the first phone call. Like we told people the Holy Spirit is our booking agent, man, because my mom would take the calls from youth pastors and whoever else was, inviting us to come play at their retreat or their event. And, and it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And it was just literally just kind of step by step. We've not known how to do any of this, but the Lord has just brought the right people around us. And
I guess
so,
I guess back then you probably didn't have kids and you were younger, because 180 would just wipe someone. It's crazy numbers.
But really,
amazing.
until the last couple of years, though, we've continued to play about 120 dates. And so even with kids, like sometimes we'll bring the kids on the road, which has been an awesome experience for them. Sometimes it doesn't work like that. This year, we really feel like after pandemic that we got the word before pandemic that I feel like the Lord wants us to cut the dates in half, though, because he's making room for some other ministry opportunities. I think to go and play some places that you wouldn't sell a ticket, for somebody to come and see. We want to go places where they could never afford to bring us some, and the Lord is, I think, birthing some opportunities that are going to allow that for like prisons and for recovery houses and places like that to go and to do, or the music to me, it would be an afterthought. It would be about just the ministry and getting to see Jesus move in those places, and so we're open to whatever he has,
Wow. That's phenomenal. I really like the sound of that. In fact, you mentioned prisons, which reminds me of actually one of the things that I was talking with Zach Williams about, because when Zach was on the show, he talked about his wife and how she was involved in prison ministry, and he also shared his testimony about how he became a Christian and came to Jesus really suddenly in an amazing, miraculous way. And he talked about being in a I think it's a transit van going across Spain, and in the van on the radio, on the Spanish radio, they played your track, Redeemed, which we will be hearing later on. And he got back to his hotel room and he just kept it on repeat, and he phoned his wife and said, "I'm quitting the band, I'm coming home, we've got to get with Jesus," or something along those lines. It was amazing.
Wow.
Can I just ask this of you? Zach Williams, very significant person, obviously. I'd love you to tell us a little bit more about that. But how does it feel to you when you hear stories, not just of famous people, but of people, just anybody who's realized that Jesus is alive, Jesus is real, and they come to him in faith because of your music ministry?
Well, I mean, we know from scripture, it says that no man comes unless the Spirit of God draws him, And so when we hear that it happened with the song, you instantly realize who was using the song. It's like there's no part in the songwriting process where you're like, now this is when the guy's on the transit van, and then God is going to like reach him. Only the Lord can do that. One of the coolest parts was when I sat with Zach, because Zach, actually the way I met Zach was over the phone. A radio station in the US had set this up. I had called in for an interview with them, and they said, "Hey, we want to introduce you to a guy, and he's got a story." And he shares the story of what happened on the air. And I mean, I'm weeping, he's weeping. There's just all this dead air at points, and you just hear like sniffling and like tissues, and he then plays Chainbreaker. They share Chainbreaker over the air, and I'm like, oh my word, just the continued story of God in his life. And now so we went on tour together after that. It was incredible, but it was us kind of playing behind him. Then we played this last year, sometime in pandemic, we would play drive-in movie theaters together, actually.
Cool.
And man, we insisted, look, you need to play at the end. We've been around forever. I understand. They're like, we want us to switch each night, or no, you need to play at the end. When I heard Zach and his band play, it was otherworldly, man. They are so good. And I was like, thank God we were playing first. Oh my goodness. Who would not want to play after these guys, And so, I mean, but it was amazing. It was amazing. And every night Zach would bring me out on stage with him at the end and share the story of Redeemed. And we'd sing it together, trading off verses and just going, God, you're so incredible. I mean, and specifically from that song, it never gets old. And how does it feel? It's completely humbling, man, because I know what a big mess I am. I know I'm not capable of doing anything that can change somebody's life, It's Jesus, and the fact that Jesus would use a song in that way that was even remotely connected with my life is one of the greatest honors and one of the most humbling things ever, and it never gets old hearing those stories. I'm addicted to seeing Jesus move in the lives of others, and in my life, Yeah.
There's another track that actually also relates to Zach that's a significant track for you guys. Tell us about that track.
And it was amazing. So after the whole Redeemed story the connection with Zach and Big Daddy Weave get to tour together, it was as Zach was really just getting out there. Chainbreaker had really just kind of come on the air and it was doing really well. So we would play for a few songs behind Zach, like as his band, and he would open up for Big Daddy Weave. And I mean, it was awesome. But as we're on the road, it was just after my brother, Jay, who plays bass for Big Daddy Weave, had gone through a near-death experience, man. I mean, he became a double amputee. It was diabetes with complications with some meds that were given that didn't work with him. And, man, he almost lost his life. As Zach was coming out with us, Jay was coming back on the road to play some of his first shows after that whole experience. And so Zach is seeing Jay literally walk on stage for the first time with prosthetics. It was unbelievable, man. And Zach is an amazing friend. And we're sitting on the bus after one of the shows and he goes, man, God used Redeemed in my life. He goes, I think I have a song for you now. And it's this song Alive. And we listened to it. And of course, Zach had like made the demo of it. So it sounds awesome with him singing. And I'm like going, I don't even know if I should try to do this, because I think Zach's fantastic. I said, if you hear me singing on this, I'm probably going to be trying to do my Zach Williams impression, which never really works out because there's only one Zach Williams, right? And so, but man, when he showed us the song instantly, we're like, this is the first single from our next record. We didn't even have a record. We only had a song, but we're like, this is the first song from the next record. And so when we tracked it, because he had been trying for a while, he goes, man, we've played through this, we've done this. And he goes, something just doesn't feel right for me to do it. And he goes, I wonder if it's not because you're supposed to do it. I just thought that was the coolest full circle kind of moment, because I mean, for Jesus to use Redeemed in his life and then for him to bring this song was such an amazing thing. And it was literally like we couldn't have said it better ourselves. And it felt like our song from the moment he showed it to us. And so it's something where I'm always going to cherish the memory of, even just that moment of God bringing the whole thing full circle.
Is it you doing most of the writing of the lyrics?
They come in all different ways. So just like this one that Zach just goes, hey, listen to this. But then when you hear it, you're like, oh, we got to sing this. Lion and the Lamb is another song. We heard Leland's version of that. We heard Bethel do that song. And then we were like, is anybody doing this? Oh my gosh, can we please record this? When it just first had come out. But then there are other ones that for sure. And it is the best songs feel like they happen to you. And so even from a writing standpoint, when I write a song by myself or when I have a friend write, those are my favorite writes. It's just this fellowship that this song is born out of, each of you just sharing what God has done in your life. And then this song is born out of the marriage of that, And I think those are the ones that you have to run and get a pen really fast because you feel like the song is happening and you're just there trying to catch it, Those are the best ones. And in my experience over, more than 20 years now, those are the ones that end up connecting with people in their lives in a very significant way,
Yeah, I totally can understand that. I got to say, although I love music, I've never managed to write a song. I can't play a note on a guitar. Do you play notes or chords? I don't know. I can't do any of that stuff.
It's both. Depends on what.
I am in awe of you guys and the things that you do. So, I'm talking of tracks that just sort of come to you. Is Redeemed one of those tracks? And Redeemed has been arguably your most successful track to some degree because it went to number one, it went platinum, it was K-Love Fan Awards Song of the Year, and you played it at the Dove Awards as well. So it's been a big deal for you. Did it just come? Did God just give that song to you? How did that one come about? Tell us more of the story of Redeemed.
Oh my goodness, man. Yeah. And this is a huge part of my testimony. So being a big daddy of Big Daddy Weave, growing up as like the fat kid in school and, the overweight guy in my adulthood, all of those things, like I never knew how to give voice to this. But I hated myself. I didn't know how to say it. I just knew I would always look at other people and I'd want to be them instead of me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I was so thankful for the Lord in my life, man. And I knew that the Lord loved me. And I didn't realize there was anything wrong with me not loving me, So we had, I guess this was back in 2009. like a show on television that was really big in the States was called The Biggest Loser. And like people would, come on this show and they'd have this weight loss challenge and lose a bunch of weight. And so my second son had been born. And I remember just thinking about life and just looking at this little guy and going, man, Ezekiel, man, I love this little guy so much. I'm like, I need to make some changes in my life or whatever. And so we went on this big weight loss journey. We did it very publicly, like different radio stations picked up on it and like they're making videos all the time. My goal was to lose 90 pounds in 2009, right? And so we did it in front of everybody. And I'm out there and I'm just trying to make things happen and I'm losing all kinds of weight. And mid-year, I was down about 50 pounds or whatever. Then even like, into the end of the year, it got increasingly harder for my body to like let go of weight. I don't know if it was like, I don't know how that all works, but anyway, it was just difficult. And as we're getting close to this, the final weigh-in, which is like the end of the year, the end of December, it's just, man, it's so hard to lose weight. And I got to 60 pounds, 70 pounds and 75 pounds. And we're just within weeks and I'm trying so hard. Like we're still on the road doing like Christmas tour. I'm running up and down stairs, all of the stuff in the hotel, trying to make it happen. Man, thousands of people have signed up online to like try to do this kind of thing too and lose weight and become more healthy. And so there's all this pressure. And I remember weighing in, the last day of 2009 and I had lost 84 pounds, right?
Which is amazing.
Which is like losing an entire middle schooler, like off your back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, but because that was not 90, man, there had always been this thing in me that kind of contributes to the self-hating thing. I never knew how to say that at this point, but it's like I had this standard for me that I could never live up to. Like I constantly let myself down and was disappointed in myself because of not being able to live to this standard that I had built up for me, And so when I saw that missing 6 pounds, I just like put the stamp on myself, like failure, one more huge failure in a lifelong list of like disappointments in my life, And so, man, I just began to medicate with food and I just began to put the weight back on. And with every pound came more shame. With every pound came more disappointment. And I gained all of it back. Plus, guess how many pounds to the number? 6 pounds more.
Oh,
it was like I punished myself from the place of disappointment and self-hatred. And there was this day when I hated myself worse than I could ever remember. And our garage is beneath our house here in Tennessee. And I had a place that I had been working out down there. And I went and sat on the concrete in the basement garage below our house. And I was just telling God everything that I hated about myself. And I had a list, brother. I'm telling you, it was, an all-inclusive list. And in the midst of me letting this stuff out in front of God, as clearly as I can ever remember, the voice of Holy Spirit, that still small voice inside just says, Michael, you need to let me tell you what I think about you.
wow.
And I am ready. Here it is, the notepad of my heart or whatever, ready to take down this grandiose thing that surely he's about to say. And you know what he said? Man, I haven't told this in a while. It's gotta get me now.
Yeah.
You can get to a place where you can tell them and you get sort of callous to it so you can get through the story. But it's been a little bit now. And,
it's a real story.
it seems fresh. So, he said, I like the way that you smile. And that was this connecting place. Because I did too, actually. That's the one thing in a picture, in a whatever, we have to do these photo shoots and these videos things, and they're absolutely torture for me every time. I hate seeing myself on anything, but that was the one thing, my smile. When somebody would say something about that, I'd be like, I do like the way I smile. And it was this connecting point. It was like God it was the first strike and bringing a wrecking ball to this wall of just separation that I had created between me and the love of God for me, really. I could never extend that to myself, And I didn't really realize that I needed to. But that's just it though, isn't it? It's like, that it says, that we need to love others like we love us though. I kind of always skimmed over that part. I need to love me too, right? And so, man, it was like the Lord just began to flood my heart and my mind with stuff that he likes about me. Not just that he loves me unconditionally, but he made me. He made me. And he said, for you to look at yourself in a way differently than the way I see you is like telling me I don't know what I'm talking about. And I'm like, okay. And he said, the way I look at you is not the same way that you look at you. He goes, when I look at you, I don't look at the list of how you got it wrong or how you got it right. He goes, I look at the perfection of Jesus Christ applied to your life, applied on your behalf in front of me.
Yeah. And
that's how I see you. I see you as I was looking in the mirror at one point. We're getting ready for some other kind of event where it was going to be filmed or something. And again, I'm standing in front of the mirror. This is not usually like a guy kind of thing to deal with, I don't think, but it's like I'm standing in front of the mirror. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I just hate this. And the Lord, again, he just says, you know what you're looking at right there? And I'm like, what? He goes, mine. He said, you are mine.
You've been watching The Artist Interview. For the full podcast, click the links below or visit hopefm.com/The Artist Interview.